Welcome to Meg's Motorcycle Journey, where we explore the world on two wheels. This channel will follow me on my journey to become a better rider and explore my love of all things motorcycles. Welcome to our New Year's Day ride. It was actually the day after New Year's. New Year's was a complete cold and rainy washout. I've heard a lot of people call New Year's Days Frosty ball rides, which I guess is because it's so cold. So anyway, I just thought that was kind of funny. We planned to go, speaking of a funny story, we planned to go with a larger group, and I had met a gentleman online that I will probably be potentially including in an up-and-coming video. And we had planned to collaborate together and also do a ride. I had never met him in person, so I didn't know him very well. I'd had a couple telephone calls with him. And he invited me to the New Year's ride and said it's a decently big ride, and my buddy's a road captain every year for this ride. So I thought that I would bring some of my friends and we would all go out together. So he told us a place to meet and a time, and we rode there, and we didn't see anybody in the parking lot, but we did see a gas station across the way with a bunch of bikers. So we went over, and there was about 30 sport bike riders, and they were clearly already ready to go. And so I didn't really have an opportunity to stop and talk to any of them and say, hey, such and such told me that I should come and go on this ride. So we just sort of acted like we were going to join in. Then shortly thereafter decided we weren't going to stay with them because it was kind of a sport bike ride. And so we went off and did our own thing. And then later when I got home, I got a message from the guy that was acting as the road captain, and he said, sorry, we missed you. And I said, oh, I thought that we saw you this morning. And he was like, no. And I said, do you all ride sport bikes? And he said, no, I ride a Harley. And then he sent me a picture of the group that we were actually supposed to ride with. So it was a little bit funny. And if any of you sport bike riders that were in that group are out there listening, thank you for being nice to us, even though you had no idea who we were. At any rate, we then decided to go off on our own and take a trip to Harper's Ferry, which is in West Virginia, right over the Maryland line. We did try to meet up in Maryland in Frederick County. And so that's where we're riding right now. The sky was beautiful. It actually got decently warm that day. I want to say low 50s. But when I left the house, it was in the 30s, the low 30s. And I was freezing and immediately regretted not wearing a full face helmet. So I guess I learned my lesson that I'm going to probably wear a full face if it's in the 30s or the 40s. On this particular day, I'm riding with cameraman who's behind me right now and my friend John, who actually was Santa in my earlier Santa ride video. And I think I said at that time, John is a police officer, and he rides a touring bike. And then I am behind him on my Lowrider S. I am super, super excited because I ordered a bunch of parts today to do a handlebars and potentially a crash bar mod to my bike. I have also been so grateful because I received an offer to have a bunch of cool different bike parts to put on my bike. So look forward to some upcoming installation videos. So John had never been to the Frederick Harley Davidson, so we thought we'd try to stop and just check it out. Cameraman and I have been there because I actually bought my bike there. But they were closed. So we ended up just hopping back on our bikes and going, which is unfortunate because it's a pretty nice dealer and they've got a pretty big selection. So this is us hopping back on our bikes and trying to make our way back to Harper's Ferry, to Harper's Ferry. I have been there many times in a car, and I've been in the general area on a bike, but certainly not through downtown. I had heard only good things and was pretty excited about going to see it. I have a number of other videos that I want to share with you guys. One is when we bought a trailer, which was a couple weeks ago, after a pretty exhaustive search, some of which we rode to and some of which we went to in a car. So I will talk about that more in that episode, as well as a tour of Bill's old bike barn in Pennsylvania, which was really super cool. I apologize that I haven't yet gotten a chance to get those out to you. I was just really excited from my Florida trip and wanted to share my experience with Jerry Palladino and Ride Like a Pro with all of you guys. I was gonna post one of those videos first, but I figured that a New Year's Frosty Balls ride was more timely, and I will be posting those other videos in the next several weeks, along with my upgrade videos. So that's exciting and something to look forward to. I realized today, and I was really happy, that we are quickly approaching the halfway through winter mark, and there wouldn't be too much longer that I'll have to be riding in so many layers. So I mentioned this in the trailer episode also, but a lot of you have commented on me getting real leather pants, because the pants I've worn in some of my other videos are faux leather. I actually got them off of Amazon, but they are still incredibly warm and wind resistant, because they're sort of a plastic material on the outside and a fleece material on the inside. I fully understand that they're not going to protect me from road rash the way that leather will, but they are comfortable and they are warm. But when it is cold, like on this particular day, like I said, it was in the 30s when I left home, I will wear those, and then over top of them, I will wear my real leather pants. So those are real leather pants, and they're lined, and they're super warm. And I like them, but I'm still interested in a pair of chaps. I do not own a pair of chaps. I have once tried on a pair, actually, when I visited Renegade Leather, and I really didn't love the fit, and they didn't have a lot of female-specific chaps. So if anybody has a good place that I could get either a custom pair made for me, or they have a large selection of women's chaps in a small size, I would be very interested to know your suggestions on where I could go to look for that. I'm also doing a lot of other exciting things. Currently working on a logo, which is really exciting, for my Meg's Motorcycle Journey stuff. And then I also plan to start selling some merchandise. I've had a lot of people reach out to me, ask me about shirts and hats and posters, and all of those things are in the works. I also want to sincerely thank you guys for your support, because my calendar project did really well, and so many of you have purchased calendars and just given me some great feedback on that, and I truly, genuinely appreciate your support. So anyway, it turned out to be a decently nice day, certainly for January in Maryland. So we rode our New Year's ride today to Harper's Ferry, West Virginia, which is a really beautiful and scenic area. You can see some of the cliffs behind me. And we stopped for lunch at this place, Old Fireman's Barbecue and Catering. So if you're in the area, definitely check it out. You can see some of the cliffs and the bridge, and then on this side is town, which is pretty neat. Pretty cool historic little town. So it's definitely a nice destination, and the ride out was absolutely beautiful. So unfortunately, the camera died, the battery in my camera died before we got to some of the really cool scenery coming into Harper's Ferry. So this scenery coming out is some of the coolest, I think, that we've ever shot. So this is the historic downtown area that we're riding out of, and you can see little bridge on the left-hand side. The coolest footage, I think, is when we ride over the Potomac in just a moment. But I think all of this footage is just really neat to look at. So if you haven't been to Harper's Ferry ever, it's definitely worth the ride out. So I actually thought that it was a lot farther away from me than it is. We started off this ride, I don't think I mentioned, in Frederick County, actually in Urbana, in Maryland. That's where we intended to meet the other group. And then this was only about an hour, not even quite an hour from Frederick County. So close by for me to get into West Virginia. I've had a lot of you ask me about upgrading my camera equipment, and I do plan to do that. I asked for some for Christmas, and I was given some new equipment. We got a gimbal that's a stabilizer for some of the footage that we shoot that is for upgrades and mods and things like that in a stationary place, and a couple other pieces of equipment. What I have not yet taken the plunge on is a really nice GoPro, but my 10-year-old son got one for Christmas for him to use when he snowboards and surfs. And he told me that he would let me use it, try it out, and see if I liked it. So I think I'm going to do that on one of our upcoming rides. So here's what I was talking about riding over the Potomac. You can see the water there on the left-hand side. I wish we had gotten some footage on the way in, just because it would have been right there next to the water. I think there's so few roads where you actually get to ride so close to the water. So I think that's really neat, because I do a fair amount of riding to the eastern shore here in Maryland and Delaware. I spend a lot of time in the summer at Bethany Beach, and so I ride a fair amount of coastal riding, at least East Coast coastal riding, and there's not a lot of roads that you get to ride so closely to the water. So I think that's really very neat. And then on your right-hand side, on my right-hand side in this video, is the cliffs, which are equally as cool to look at. So I think I want to go back in the summer and stay for a little longer, do a little more exploration of the area, maybe do some hiking and walking while we're there. That is the one thing that I find to be a lot more fun about riding places in the summer, is I just need less stuff. So I feel like when I get there, I can do more. I can hike, I can go places, because I don't have all the gear that I have to take with me to stay warm. A lot of you asked me if I enjoyed Florida, and I enjoyed it tremendously, but I was somewhat disappointed because I was expecting it to be a tad warmer than it was. I was hoping that I would go to Florida and it would be in the 80s, but unfortunately the first day we were there it was barely 60. So it was warmer than here, and I think the second day it got in the low 70s, but certainly not warm. And this is the other bridge I was talking about where you get to overlook the water. You can see I'm checking it out. That's something that I have been able to do more of as I've become a more comfortable and confident rider, is check out my scenery. And I know a bunch of you are going to say I should always keep my eyes on the road, and I do. But what's the fun of exploring the world on a motorcycle if you don't get to check out some of the cool sights? So I'm happy that I'm more comfortable on a bike now and more able to check out, at least momentarily, what's around me. You saw that sign we just passed into Maryland from West Virginia. There's John having a little fun. He's got cruise control on his bike. I had cruise control on my Sportster. I do not have it on my Lowrider S. That was me just waving to somebody. And this is us on either approaching or on Route 70, which is not my favorite road to ride a bike on because people are very aggressive. It has one of the highest speed limits of any road in the state of Maryland, and truckers and regular drivers alike are pretty aggressive. So I wanted to include a little footage. This is actually me riding cameraman's bike. I've told you guys that he's got a breakout. So this is a 2017 breakout. And he has encouraged me to ride it a few times before. But frankly, until I went to Florida, I wasn't confident in my skills to do it. I didn't want to take the chance of dropping it or wrecking it. But I've rode a lot of bikes now and I feel a lot more confident. So we stopped at a parking lot and he encouraged me to take it for a spin, and I had a lot of fun. So I would say from this point out, if I get the opportunity to try a different bike that's not mine, I'm going to take it, because you never know. You just might fall in love with something new. Thanks a lot, guys. Until next time, ride safe. Don't forget to like and subscribe.